All right, hey guys, welcome to class. We're going to be doing some jiu-jitsu stuff today. So when we come to a change position and we have a good bow, sign of respect. So I want you to just shake those arms up, move them out a little bit. Oh, jump up and down. And what we're going to do is we're going to go right into some body squats. I've got a big class planned for us today. I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time getting warmed up because I only have so much of your time. So the first thing we're going to be doing, I'm going to take this spot over here, sir. And we're going to be doing some squats. So we're going to start the clock. It's going to be 30 seconds of squats. And here we go. So we're up and down. Up and down. Mr. Anderson, will you check the clock for me real quick? Or check the camera, I think something's off. And welcome back for the people who went missing on the live group. All right, shake those legs out. All right, let's have a seat. Let's get a few quick stretches in. We're gonna get on to our lesson plan. So we're gonna go 1 foot out, 1 foot back. Back is straight, my chin is up. Rotating towards that foot. And that leg's flexible and the hip's flexible. Makes transitioning from position to position a lot easier to do. Lifting that chin, pulling that belly towards that kneecap. And we're gonna switch. We gotta be good at both legs, right? People try to choke you from all sides. Back straight, lean into that stretch. So this whole month we've been talking about expectations. What are they, right? How do we help them become achievable? And last week you were talking about obstacles. So what gets in the way of you achieving your expectations? All right, straddle stretch. So if you have an expectation of maybe learning how to do more arm locks, right? Okay. And you set the goal of showing up to classes, asking for help. Maybe you watch some of the online classes we put together. And you're like, okay, so I've got all the things I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden, like you're playing with your friends outside, you're doing something else. Let's start going left and right with those legs. And all of a sudden you injure your leg, right? And it's a leg that you're learning how to do the arm locks on. You can't step it over, move it around, or one of the positions we're doing from creates a problem, an obstacle for you. So let's start to figure out how you're going to get around that, because you still want to achieve those arm locks. You still want to make sure your goal of accomplishing them is right. Keep going down farther in the middle, try and get those elbows down. So what do you have to do, right? Maybe we do some mental jiu-jitsu where you start to write down the steps on a piece of paper. So we start to verbally say them out loud, so at least you remember what the steps are. Maybe we just train one side at first. So, or we start to do it just on the air, not with the person to make it a little more flexible for a hip. But let's start to figure that out. But now the obstacles have been figured out. The last step is I want you to start to think about when you finally accomplish, let's go to butterfly stretch, your expectation, right? You have it, what are you gonna do with it? Like, let's say your expectation to learn a really cool arm lock. Let's say you learn it, what are you gonna do? Are you actually gonna use it? How are you gonna use it? What else do you need to make that utilizable, right? Or, you get there and how are you gonna make sure you don't forget how to do this arm lock that you've achieved? So figure your expectations, right? Set up the goals, figure out your obstacles, set up plans for obstacles, and then the most important part is realize what are you gonna actually do when you finally do accomplish it. Okay, one leg up, 1 foot over, slide that foot up. So don't just get to that spot where the expectation comes through, the goals are set and you're accomplishing them, but start to utilize that information. It doesn't really have much of a purpose to get it if you can't utilize it. Okay, switch, other foot. So that's kind of the goal for this week, is start to think about, even though it's 12 months out, a lot of times our expectation, what are we gonna do next? What's the next step? Where are we gonna go with it and why? Why do we originally set this expectation and what good does it do us? All right, let's pull that knee across your body. All the way down to the floor, stretch that back out. And the other way, pull your knee across. Let's reset that back. Trying to get your body flat on the ground, knee across your body. You might even feel the outside of your hips stretching again a little bit. All right, let's go toes over our heads. So we're squishing ourselves again. We're gonna lift those toes up, roll back, see if you can touch them. All right, down in front. Let's get one more stretch. Bring the needle up onto your belly. Upper body push up. Arch back. Look up at the ceiling. Get that back stretching. Last stretch of the day. We're going to right into our exercises today. All right, push on back. So now, the way we run this class is we're going to teach an actual class. And at some point, we're going to end up stopping and watching our live people. So if you're watching this later on than the live people are, at some point we're going to be saying do some repetition. So when we do that, I say pause it. I expect you to actually pause the video, get repetition until it feels good, and then move on, because when we come back, there'll just all of a sudden be a blink, you'll be back, and we'll be expecting you to do the next set of stuff. So make sure you're doing the repetition and you're pausing at the same time we're watching our live people. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put Mr. Anderson in my guard, right? So I have him in my guard, and what I'm looking at is with him in my guard, he's gonna start to try to hold my hips down. He's gonna start to put one knee in behind my seat more, and he's gonna start to move his knee back, and he's gonna be trying to break my guard. I'm gonna go the opposite way, sir. Thanks. Yep, you don't even need your arms for it, right? So back, boom, and he's trying to push this leg off, right? So we're trying to break that guard, and I don't like that idea. I don't want it to happen. So when he starts to move, which way do you feel more comfortable moving today, sir?
I'll do that side.
Okay, so if you feel comfortable that way, so what's gonna happen is when I feel him starting to turn, I'm gonna try to lift my butt up, number one, right? So what I'm gonna do is, I can do a couple things. Number one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and lift my seat up so I can move with him. So I'm not kind of in this position, I'm trying to lift my butt. I'm gonna get this anchor grip. So I'm gonna turn my thumb down, I'm gonna grab into his collar, and I'm gonna try to ride him a little bit. And then I can use my other arm and my shoulders to kind of walk with him. So he's gonna grab onto me in my guard position, right? And he starts to move. Now watch, I grab the anchor, I move my arm, and I start to scoot. So that way I'm lined up with him this way, because I don't want him to be sideways, because his hip starts to go into my ankle and he pushes my leg off, okay? So again, I'll go in his guard, he'll start to turn sideways. I'm gonna lift my seat up, grab onto the collar, right? I don't need to be super high. I don't wanna be down here either. So I'm gonna grab right here, I'm gonna be pulling myself, I'm using my arm. So as he starts to try to turn, I'm just gonna scoot. Now if he were to go the other way, I would just grab, right? And I would just keep hopping myself the opposite direction. So what we're gonna practice, and I'll have Mr. Anderson do some reps. If you see how that works, when I get the first person started, go ahead. If you wanna watch a little more, feel free. I'll kind of explain as we're doing it. So he puts me in his guard, right? And whatever way I'm turning, so if I'm turning my belly this way, he does the trailing arm and he grips. Or if I go this way, he does the trailing arm. So I start to turn and he kind of scoots himself. Yeah, if I go this way, he starts to scoot himself there. So he doesn't want me to hold him down. He uses that arm to grip inside the collar. Let's turn a little bit this way first. There we go. All right. So watch this grip. It's thumb down. He grips inside that collar, right? So now he's got a tight grip. Now, go ahead and grab it, sir. If he crunches up, right, and he pulls his knees to his body, crosses his feet, it makes it harder for me to arch. That would be great. That's something we can do. But I've already got myself in this position. So crunching up, maybe I've already started to be part of that process. So now he's going to try to lift his butt off the floor. So he tries to arch his back. So now when I start to go, it makes it much easier for him to move. If he crunches up on me and he tries to move, it's a little bit harder for him to go. But by lifting his butt up in there, now when I go, it makes it much easier for him to follow along and do that. So I want you to try to have the person put you in guard and rotate a couple hops, right? And then I would go the other way. And they follow me a couple hops. And the same person would go maybe for like a minute straight, or maybe 5 one way, 5 another way. If you got super abs, do some more and then rotate. So at this point, pause repetition. We're gonna watch the live people. All right, welcome back. So let's take a look at what we have going on here. So Mr. Anderson's in my guard, right? And he's gonna break my guard, so he's holding my hips down, he puts his knee in my tailbone, and he points his knee sideways. So effectively, he's turning his belly to break the guard, right? And this is a little bit simpler version to see. It's obviously not the full mechanics of what we do, but that's kind of to make it super easy for you to understand. So when he goes to turn, I feel him putting that knee, and I want to grab that same side and walk myself over. Does that make sense? And if he started going the other way, then I would reverse the grip, and I would keep pulling myself around, okay? So now, once we get to this position, right, so let's say I get here, and I got myself evened up here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to grip the collar, and I'm going to grip the elbow. So I don't want this hand out here like this. See how that works? I don't want that out there. But I'm going to grab back behind this elbow, so when he puts his hand out, right, I can keep it up. So I'm trying to block. I'm not letting it go out here, right? So I'm going to grab behind this arm. Now if he takes his hand off my belly, I can start to pull him forward. So I'll help him keep his hand in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to my side. I'm going to take this spur, I'm going to bite on him. So this one's going to catch him with my heel, it's a spur motion. and I'm gonna put my other knee into him. I'm gonna pull, and I'm gonna sweep. Okay, I don't need to climb on top and mount yet. I'm just gonna sweep him over the top. Let's back up, do it again. So we're going to pretend that we just did this motion. We used our anchor, we were chasing. I'm gonna switch to the other collar and grab up high on the elbow, keeping his arm in, because I don't want it to go out, okay? So just gonna grab up nice and high behind his elbow. I'm gonna use my left foot on the floor to strip my hips and make a hook on it. I'm gonna pull, and then I'm gonna start to scissor him over. And now my leg is real close to his body, and it's holding. I don't want my foot over here where he can just start to swim his arm underneath and pass over the top, right, and get back and get free. So one more time, I'll show you again. Mr. Anderson will get some reps, and then we'll watch. Okay, so I just scooted into position, I switch, I go here, and I'm sweeping him over. Now I'm gonna wanna hold this because in our next motion, we're gonna be going up, and we can work some other kind of things from this grip, okay? So Mr. Anderson, jump in, we'll work on this sweep real quick. So he's got me wrapped in his guard. He grabs one inside the collar, one behind the elbow, okay? This way it's harder for me to put my arm out. See how that works? He turns on his side, uses his foot here because this is the collar grip. He's got a spur into my leg, and he's got his knee just right into my belly. Now he could just walk and lift up his heel. So lift up his heel, push like that, and walk his toes, or he can try and drive across. But his body's more lined up on the outside of my hip, and he drives. He kind of punches, takes me right over the top. Okay? Now sometimes it can be pretty easy to launch a partner with this, so be careful. Okay? So he gets a grip, right? Gets behind the elbow, turns to his side, gets his knee right inside my ribs. He's got a leg holding my other leg in, and he starts to drive me over the top. Okay, one more time, and we'll try and get you to get some reps. Real easy sweep. Switches, holds it nice and high. Over here, starts pushing and using his leg, and break. All right. So again, we're gonna make sure a lot of people have this. Make sure you're trying to sweep your partner over, but don't slam them over. All right, practice. So what we're gonna practice now is a cross choke, and then we'll do it as kind of part of this motion. But what I'm gonna practice doing is taking this collar, opening it up. My hand's gonna go inside, palm up. So the first hand goes in, palm up, and I'm trying to get my wrist bone here, right underneath this earlobe. Is kind of a good place for you to measure. So I open it up, and I don't pull it forward because it's hard to get my hand in. I kind of push the uniform back, because then I can put my hand here and then insert the uniform into my hand. I'm going to take my toes and turn them to the collar side. So I'm holding this collar, I turn my toes that way because it helps me rotate my body. Okay? So I can use my legs to kind of bite and rotate. And I take this hand, palm up, and I insert it up into his collar. Now I squeeze my hands real tight. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my body back. So I take my toes and I turn them the opposite way. And if I get a tap, I let go. If I don't get a tap, I make sure that I ask my partner where I'm feeling the pressure. They want to feel the pressure on the side of the neck, on both spots. Don't be squishing their chin, right? That's fun, but that's not what we're doing. So I lift, insert, and then I put the uniform in my hand. I turn my toes. So you see how my knee's bent, my other leg is bent also. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it looks like this, like I'm kneeing him, right? Helps me kind of rotate, keeps a tight bend on him. I insert my hand up into his collar. And now when both thumbs are far enough through, all I have to do is hold the collar tight, and then I just turn my toes up, brings me to the center, and starts to apply a choke motion. Okay, so be very careful. Your partners tap early. So it's lift, insert, put in your hand. Rotate, insert, tight grip, rotate back. All right, so if you have it, get started. If not, watch Mr. Anderson get some more reps in first, and then get started. All right, so he lifts the uniform, puts his hand in, gets a tight grip by pulling into his uniform, turns his toes, right? So if you actually just turn your toes, you can use those leg muscles to rotate you. Shoots the other hand up, gets a tight grip, then just rotates his toes up, and it just brings them back. Right, so just by turning your legs and bending and straightening your legs, it makes you actually move. So he lifts it up, inserts, drops it into his hand. Shifts using his legs. Yeah, you don't even need core muscles anymore. Up, tight grip, and then straightens out his legs. And drives. He can kind of push me away with his legs. Using legs to rotate himself. Yes, gets the grip and then rotates back. All right, one more time. You know how to do it. Get started. If you don't, make sure you get the notes. Up, insert, pull. Rotate, insert, rotate back. If you get all the way back the other way, that's a mistake on your behalf. All right, so again, repetitions. Shoot for maybe 5, 10 on each side. We're going to watch live people see how they do. All right, so we saw a cross choke from the position we were just practicing, which was guard, right? And what might happen is I use my anchor grip, right? I get myself into position, and then I switch, and I start to go for a sweep, and he puts his hand out to base because he doesn't want me to knock him that way. In which case, I can then turn my toes, get my grip, and then get my choke. So that would be what happens if you all of a sudden go for your sweep, right? You're here, and this hand goes out. Then what I want to do is rotate under, right? I won't choke him every time, and then rotate back. So that would be what happens if they post that hand out. Now what happens if they don't post the hand out, right? So I've got the grip, I'm here, and I get the little sweep motion. Right now, if you see this hand here, I just keep this grip. So see this collar grip? I keep it. Because now I already have a hand inserted. I'm going to control this arm for right now, and I'm going to rotate and get heavy and put my arm on his head, right? When I'm here, he's going to want to turn towards me, right? He's going to want to turn into me and start to defend and start trying to push and get rid of me, right? He's going to want to escape. So when I put my arm into his head and I put my weight down, he can't turn back towards me. Makes it very hard. Now be very careful because it's really easy to use this as an anchor point and drive. You can tap if you want and start to drive into his head and hurt him, and he'll tap because it's not fun. Agreed? Agreed. So I'm also not lining up like this. I'm angling across, and I'll show you a couple angles, but I'm angling across his body. When I'm here, I'm going to bring my body up a little bit. I'm going to insert my hand. So I shoot that one through. Now my head goes to the floor, and I walk my head around, and it starts to create a choke. All right, we'll change angles. I have him put the body this way so you guys can see multiple angles of not funness. So I grip his collar, I grip the elbow, I get the sweep, I use my hand on the floor, so my knuckles are on the floor, and I keep my heavy body up here. Okay, so my body's nice and heavy up on top. I scoot up and I lift my butt. So all I'm doing is I'm walking. You'll see it the other direction in a second. I'm walking my knee up so my butt lifts in there. And I'm going to shoot this hand through. So I'm here. I shoot it through. And once I find his collar, then I'm going to just take my head and I'm going to step my head little tiny hops. By about the third hop, I should have a choke. Okay, we'll go back one more time. I'll go the opposite way so you can see it the opposite direction and see what I'm talking about with my leg. So I've got the arm, I've got the collar, I step, I get the sweep. I'm holding this down and I'm getting this leg out, right? So I don't want my knee here because he can get underneath it, right? What I want is it on the ground and tight to him. And I'm laying heavy across his body, my weight goes on my head. So I'm here and I put this arm across his face so he can't turn towards me. He can only turn away. If he tries to turn away, I'm heavy on him. I scoot up, I insert my hand, and then I walk my head around and it creates a fun, nasty little choke, okay? If you're on the bottom of this drill with a partner and they're putting their forearm and they're crushing your face, just tap. I want you to learn to do this in the nice way because then it's easy to add the pain wave back in, right? So learn the nice way first so you can get 100 reps without your partner screaming at you the whole time. But we have our arm right across their face, and what I do is I tend to just try to keep my body up a little bit higher. And then when you want to apply pain, you can. So Mr. Anderson's going to do this. We'll kind of walk through the steps, and then again, we request that you pause and get repetition before we come back live. All right. Whoops, wrong one. I was going to attack him again. And we'll kind of go multiple angles, walk through it. Gets his collar grip, gets an elbow grip. We're going to grab nice and high. Yep. Now remember, if he went to sweep and I posted, then he would just rotate and he would just get the choke from here. We already did that one, so we're going to let him get the sweep. So he sweeps me, right? Not really fighting, just let it go. He keeps his grip inside my collar, and he starts to drive his body weight into my arm here. Yeah, bang. So now he's got this leg out nice and far, makes it real hard for me to get a hold of it. He's got it real straight because he doesn't want me to lift it up and get around it. So he's going to keep it tight. He's going to pivot this hip into me. So that way it's harder. Yep, there we go. So now he's going to lift his knee into my armpit more, get himself up. He's got his weight in his head, and now he lifts his butt and sticks his hand through right into this collar here. Now, once he gets it tight, he can cinch his knees back up tight, and then he starts to walk his head in a circle. Good. And a key note is, if your head's right next to ours, it's not that much of a choke. If your head is like way up here, so when you drive your hips forward and touch your head farther from our head, it creates a better choke. All right, let's do it again. Let's change angles. So he gets his grip, a sleeve, and a uniform. He gets a sweep. Keeps the arm tight and rotates. Remember, he's going to be kind of across my body, not so much the normal straight arm. Yep. All right. Okay. Then he starts to get his knee up to my armpit, gets his body up, drives his hand through, finds that collar, gets it nice and tight. Then he gets his knees tight to my armpits, drives his head far away from me first. Now starts to walk in a circle. And man, that's a much tighter choke. All right. So you're going to feel the difference when you get farther up. Yeah, the farther up you go, the less rotation it actually takes. Get another angle. Oh, so he gets that arm, gets a sweep position, drives, punches me over, keeps the arm attached, controls this arm. Yep, starts to get his body nice and heavy, making it hard for me to turn my face. Knees my armpit, makes it real hard for me to get around it on the inside. Finds a way for his hand to get through. Cinches it tight, walks his head up, and then and then chokes me silly. Okay, so at this point we'll stop. We'll kind of watch some repetition. And any points for the not live people, since you're not getting the feedback, if you're not getting it, go ahead and rewatch. Rewatch the repetition, listen to the steps, and then pause and do it again until you get it before you move on. All right. All right, watch him explain something real quick, and then we're going to give you the last challenge. All right, welcome back. So I want to cover something real fast. I'll have Mr. Anderson go down and jump into a mount position. Yep, either side, sir. All right, so I'm up on top, and I've got a hand inside the collar for this, right? So now that I got my arm in, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm tight into this armpit here. So some notes, because if this leg is loose in this armpit, he can get underneath it. He can start to look at escaping. Well, there we go. Yeah, that escapes. So he starts to do his elbow escapes, right? So I don't want to underhook there, and I don't want him getting out of that leg. So I'm going to stay tight to this armpit. So as I'm here and I'm up high, if he tries to get around this leg, he's not going to be able to do it, right? I don't also want him grabbing my pant leg, lifting it up, and trying to shrink. So I'm going to try to keep that leg real high up. The next thing is when I'm doing this motion and I'm trying to get the choke, I'm going to leave this hand out just so we don't actually choke him as I'm going real slow. Watch my head. If my head is here, I'm not going to get the choke. So once I get this grip in and I have my second hand, I'm going to put my head way up here, as high up as I can go, because it's going to cinch that choke up much, much better. So when I put my head on the floor and I do this, my head's going to be clear over him. So as I rotate, I don't headbutt or bite his head at all, right? So my head's way up here. That's going to accomplish that choke much, much, much tighter, okay? So now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put Mr. Anderson in my guard. I'm going to keep looking this way so you guys can see what's happening. So I've got him in my guard, and what's going to happen is he's going to hold my hips down. He's going to turn his knee sideways, and he's going to break this grip. Boom. He's going to try to break out of my guard, right? So the first thing I'm practicing is when he grips on, he's pushing down, right? I'm following him. I'm lifting my butt, hop my shoulders, and I'm using my anchor grip to follow. Now, at this point, if he starts going the opposite way, then I would use the other grip, right? I'm going to make sure that he doesn't turn sideways on me. Then I'm going to be looking for a sweep as my next goal. So I'm going to grab one of the sides. I'm going to sweep. If he blocks, right, then I'm turning my toes. See how I turn my toes? Both my knees are still touching. I'm slipping my hand up underneath. I come back, and I drive. Watch what I do. See my hands? My hands are here. And I'm driving. When I push him away, it chokes him, okay? So I can curl closer this way and get the choke, but when I drive my legs and curl, it happens fast. So I'm just pushing him into the choke motion. If I go for the sweep and he doesn't block me, then I hold on and I start working on getting this arm through for the choke. And I go for that on top X choke. Okay, so we have a couple scenarios happening. I'm working on the anchor grip. I'm working on the cross choke if he blocks my sweep. I'm working on the cross choke for on top if he doesn't block my sweep. So I'm going to play for about, let's say 30 seconds. Mr. Anderson's going to play for a little bit. Then I watch my live people and see how they're doing. So one person rotating with me, one person rotating Mr. Anderson, and then we'll watch. And then if you're not live with us, at that point, just keep eating repetition. And then when you're ready, you'll bow out with us. Now, something to think about, if you are better at one of the positions than the other person and you could show them, always go first. I always have my higher ranking people go first because if you do it right, they can watch and feel you doing it and learn from you. So if you're better at it, you should be the person doing it first. That's a general rule, because then the second person can kind of cheat by looking at how you do it first. Okay, so ready? We're gonna get started. So you can also decide right now if I say, man, I feel really good at this, tell Mr. Anderson, do everything you can to stop me. And then he really just beats me, or he tries to beat me, or whatever the scenario is. Or I say, man, I'm not very good at this, help me. Make sure I win. Cool, so you get started. I'm gonna go about 30 seconds, and then we'll rotate. All right, let's get started. Man, yes, there we go. Woo! Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Yeah, I just smush. He's blocking. He's talking on the phone, but I'm just going to smush because I can still cinch up nice and tight and find that choke. Man, is that fun. All right. I think I have a little bit of time left in my 30 seconds. Apply the face pressure. And I'm telling you, he doesn't like this when I apply that face pressure. Swap jobs, other person, right? So other person real quick, you're doing the jobs. Which hand do you want to have it, sir? I'll help. I'll go the direction you want to put it. That hand's good? Okay. Kick the legs out. Woo! Feel the difference, right? Kick those legs out. Drive those hips, drive with their legs. I think we got time for one more. Let's do it again. Oh man. Oh man. Just lift your seat. Just try to lift your seat. No, move your knees. Just lift your seat up. Make great space. There you go. Feel like you got that space now? Bring it back in. Yeah. Oh, man. Excellent. All right. 5 people. We're coming. Other people, keep the repetitions till you're ready to be done. All right, welcome back. I hope you choked the snot out of each other. We're gonna bow you out real quick. Remember, do practice, but do tap a lot. And if your partner's not tapping, check to make sure they're still coherent and awake. Okay, ready? Change position, back straight, and a good bow. And a high five, and a thumbs up.